The Pittsburgh Steelers are not done making moves this offseason, because just this morning, they signed 2 more players to their 90-man roster. So, just in case if you don't know who they are, here are the 2 players they signed. They signed linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski, and they also signed long snapper Rex Sunahara. So, these are the 2 guys they signed this morning to compete for a roster spot this offseason. So, like I do with every other player the Steelers have brought in this offseason, I'm just going to give you introduction to who they are, where they came from, and what possibly they could bring to this team this season. So, starting off with linebacker Nick, who the Steelers signed. So, they signed him, and he had a minicamp tryout earlier in the week. If you remember last week, the Steelers brought him in for a tryout, and officially they signed him. They also brought in Jermaine Carter, also inside linebacker, but obviously Nick was the better linebacker they thought, so that's why they signed him to the 90-man roster instead of Jermaine Carter. So, Kwiatkowski, he's 30 years old, and he's a Pittsburgh native. So, we kind of knew some move was going to happen because the Steelers released safety Scott Nelson on Friday, and I made a video about that, and then they had an open roster spot, having their roster now at 89, but after the sign of Kwiatkowski and the long snapper, they have their roster at 91, so I don't know if another move's going to come where they have to cut someone else to get it to 90, but I expect something to come because of that, because I haven't heard anything yet, and right now their roster is at 91, and they have to get it down to 90. So with Kwiatkowski, who he was playing at West Virginia in college, he was a 4th round pick from the Chicago Bears in 2016, and he's made 34 starts across 89 games in total for his career, and he's also racked up 293 total tackles with 7 sacks in his whole career so far. And just last season, he spent time with Atlanta Falcons. He only appeared in 7 games though, and he was mostly playing just special teams, and he didn't really have much production last season, but all 228 of his snaps in 2022 came on special teams. So, with Kwiatkowski coming to the Steelers, he's more of a zone coverage linebacker for his career than a total run stopper who the Steelers have on their teams already, and we all know the Steelers needed a linebacker who can cover, so bringing in Kwiatkowski to compete to try to make a roster spot, right now, if you think about it, he has a good chance to make the team, because now he's competing with Tanner Moose. The Steelers inside linebacker group is really thin when you think about it. They have Cole Holcomb, they have Landon Roberts, they have Mark Robinson. Those are the 3 guys. But the Steelers also have safety / linebacker Tanner Moose, who's mostly a special teams guy. So Kwiatkowski, if he's going to want to make the starting spot, not a starting spot, if he's going to make the roster, he's going to have to compete with Tanner Moose, and that's the guy who he's going to have to compete with. And since the Steelers need a zone coverage guy, he has a good chance to make the team, especially because he's a special teams guy as well, and we all know the Steelers value that for the roster spots. So, with Kwiatkowski, in addition to Chicago and Atlanta, he also spent time with the Las Vegas Raiders, where he started 12 games for them in 2012, and that's where he got his career high in tackles, which was 81. So, like I said, he's going to serve as a backup if he does make the roster behind Holcomb, Elan Roberts, and Mark Robinson, and Tanner Moose is the guy who he's really competing with. So, I believe this is more of a depth piece or a guy who can make the practice squad if he doesn't make the main roster, but this is nothing total special. He doesn't bring that much to the team, but like I do for everyone else who joins the Steelers, I just wanted to give you introduction to who they are, where they came from, and what they could potentially bring to the Steelers this season. So, moving on to the next player, not only did we sign Nick Kwiatkowski, linebacker, we also signed long snapper Rex Sunahara. So, just to talk a little bit about him, he signed this morning as well, and he's a guy who was with the Steelers previously as well. If you remember, late in 2021, he signed with the team's practice squad. Obviously, he didn't get much playing time, but he was kind of like an emergency guy just in case. So, he was with the team, and just recently, he reportedly had a tryout with the team again in OTAs earlier this month, and obviously the Steelers liked what they saw from him and what he could bring to the table and have just a guy to compete with Christian Kuntz. We all know the Steelers love bringing in competition, to have more competition, have guys bring out the best in each other. So that's what this is, having someone compete with Christian Kuntz. I don't know if Christian Kuntz is not doing so well, so maybe that's why they brought in another long snapper, or they just want a competition. Who knows? But Suahara, he's one of the tallest long snappers in the league right now. He stands at 6'6". He transferred from Rhode Island to West Virginia and earned the starting job there. Then he went undrafted. So he's an undrafted guy when he came out of the NFL draft. And then he spent time with the Miami Dolphins before, like I said, in 2021, being signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad. But the Steelers have looked at long snappers this offseason. If you remember, they brought in tight end who turned long snapper from the Ravens, Nick Boyle, making a change to the long snapper kind of route after he had some serious knee injuries. I don't know how well he's doing there, but the Steelers have brought in competition as well there, and they've also tried out XFL long snapper Antonio Ortiz last month, but obviously Suahara, they outcompeted all of them, and now he earns a spot on the 90-man roster. With Suahara, he was just playing with the Bahamas, and guess who was coaching that? Hines Ward was his coach, and Hines Ward has been a big advocate for him, and so there's a connection there with Hines Ward being the head coach of the team, and now him signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. Maybe that's just a coincidence, and the Steelers like what they saw, or maybe it's just that connection and Hines Ward advocating for him. So let's see what this offseason holds for all these competitions throughout preseason into the regular season. Just like last offseason, the Pittsburgh Steelers brought in a guy to compete with Chris Boswell, and Chris Boswell ended up winning the job again. As we all know, he was going to be the guy, but the Steelers just love bringing a competition that way, even though they already had a spot locked down with Chris Boswell. Just bring another guy. They bring in competition with punter Presley Harvin. They brought in a guy this offseason after being released from the Jets. I believe he actually has a good chance of making the roster. So the Steelers just love bringing a competition no matter what the position is, just to bring out the best of each other. So this offseason, they did it again, bringing in a depth piece with Nick Kwiatkowski and also bringing in long snapper Sunahara. So this is an introduction to both those guys. Like I do for everyone else who the Steelers have gotten this offseason, I just made an introduction. Even if they're not going to be a big part of the team, I just want to give you guys an idea of who they are, what they bring to the table, something like that. This is what this channel is, news, rumors, and kind of breaking down stuff for you guys, keeping you up to date with all Steelers football. So with that being said, that's the end of this video, but let me know down in the comments below. How do you feel about these two moves the Steelers have made this offseason? Let me know how you feel about the signing of the linebacker, the signing of the long snapper. What do you think they're going to bring to the team? Do you think they're more of a practice squad type guys, depth pieces, or do you believe they have a chance to actually win the starting job either at linebacker or long snapper? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, and reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well, so you get notified whenever I post an next Steelers video. Click the bell down below so you never miss out. I've been covering all Steelers football stuff this offseason, from the draft, free agency, trades that we did, like Allen Robinson, every new person the Steelers signed. I made an introduction, so you want to see what they could bring to the table. Like I said, like I covered this video, they're on the channel, so go ahead and watch it. And everything moving forward into training camp at Latrobe, into the preseason, into the regular season, when we make the playoffs, when we make the Super Bowl, repeating the whole draft process again. I'm covering everything, and this is the best spot to keep up to date with Steelers football. Also, let me know down in the comments below who you would want to see the Steelers bring in, if it's another free agent out there that you want to see them sign, and if you want to see me make a video on a specific person who's on the Steelers right now, who you're hyped about for this upcoming season, and you want me to make a video on them, let me know who that is in the comments below as well. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.